Hey, my name is Heather Wilson, and this is my Windshield Survey Community Assessment presentation for my Rural and Public Health Nursing class at the University of Virginia's College at Wise. For this assignment, we were instructed to complete a windshield survey to assess our community. According to our text by Sherry Richter and Mary Jo Stanley, a windshield survey can be completed by walking or driving around a community. This can help one become familiar with the community and its residents. Our text also states that a community assessment is a thorough evaluation of a community that involves the collection and evaluation of information gathered concerning the health status of that community while discovering existing or potential needs and assets as a basis for planning a future action. The community that I'll be focusing on is Chilhowie, Virginia, home to the Mighty Warriors. It is located within Smith County, Virginia, and has an estimated population of about 2,000 residents. Chilhowie can be considered a little hole-in-the-wall type of place within the Appalachian southwestern part of Virginia. It is located off the well-traveled Interstate 81 and in between two large cities, Bristol and Roanoke. The name Chilhowie may seem a bit strange and hard to pronounce to its outsiders. Its name actually comes from an old Cherokee term meaning Valley of Many Deer. A couple of little fun facts is an urban legend has it that Chilhowie High School is actually built on top of an Indian burial ground. And Smith County is the home to what we know as Mountain Dew. On this slide, you can see a map of Smith County's boundaries and land uses. Chilhowie is circled in the left center area, and here you can see that most, if not all, of Chilhowie and its surrounding areas are considered to be rural or agricultural areas. For this assessment, I am using zip code 24319, which represents the town of Chilhowie. And as we go through this video, you can see we're going across the railroad tracks. To the left is a gas station. To the right is what used to be the Piggly Wiggly, the old town's grocery store. It has since been replaced over there to the left with a food city. As we go through this red light, you can see on the left that is the Graver's Drug Store, which is one of the 3 pharmacies located in Chilhowie. To the left is a bank. Over there to the right is the Riverfront Cafe and a small business. To the left is the Chilhowie Fire Department and also the Chilhowie Town Hall, which hosts the Chilhowie Police Department and other town offices. On the right here we have a furniture store, a mechanic, another convenience store. On the left there is a Mexican restaurant. To the right we have some small businesses. On the left over there, that's Chilhowie Baptist Church, and then beside of it is the newly built Will Walker's Farmers Market and the Lucas Dow Memorial Park. Right here on the right with this blue roof is a town home that's located right off of Main Street. This green awning building right here, that's Valley Health Care, which is a rehabilitation / long-term care facility. On the right over there in that brick building is Chilhowie Middle and High School. They are combined due to the small population. Directly in front of Chilhowie Middle and High School is a larger plaza of shops. Has like a Dollar General and some other small businesses and a home health office. Over here on the left is another Mexican restaurant. In reference to the last video on the last slide, a little further down that road was Chilhowie Elementary School, as well as some factory businesses, a flower shop, and several other churches. Things that can be seen on outside of the main street are 2 apartment complexes, some mobile homes, whether by themselves or in a mobile home park, homes that are on farmland or larger land properties, the town's Little League fields, There's more churches. The Family Care of Chilhowie Physician's Office is also located right off of Main Street. In this video, you can see that the day I filmed, there were a lot of people out after business hours. With the weather getting warmer, more people tend to spend more time outdoors, whether they're walking around in their neighborhoods or spending time at the park or Little League fields with their children. And as you can see, traffic's moving a good bit on Main Street. As for housing in Chilhowie, most are residential or townhomes. There is 2 apartment complexes located in the center of town. There is also a mobile home park located on the west end of town. The home ownership rate is 64.1%, with 30.9% of the homes valuing between $150,000 to $200,000. The homes you see in these pictures are located on Main Street or on an adjacent road that can typically be seen throughout town, either in between businesses or in a residential block living area. The photo at the top is a picture of the mobile home park on West End, and the photos on the bottom are houses that are pretty much in the center of town, just off of the Main Street. You can kind of see the one on the far right is a little bit more of a poverty-like home compared to the one in the middle. But these are within walking distance of each other. Chilhowie is very fortunate to have several churches to serve its area. The majority of these churches are Baptist or Christian faith-based, and as I was riding around, I counted 22 churches. 9 were Baptist, 7 were Christian, 4 were Methodist, 1 was Lutheran, and 1 was Presbyterian. Smith County Public Schools is the primary schools in the area, with 3 schools in the town of Chilhowie serving pre-K through 12th grade. There are no private schools in the area, and there are no higher educational institutions. For daycare, I had to search the Department of Social Services website, and I found that there are 2 licensed daycares in Chilhowie. They are Little Blessings and Chilhowie Head Start. And as far as after-school programs go, usually the schools do host one for free, while Little Blessings does charge a fee. For healthcare in Chilhowie, there is 1 physician's office where you can go to see a primary care provider, 1 dental service, 1 home health company, 1 rehabilitation, long-term, and memory care facility, as well as 1 physical, occupational, and speech therapy center. Chilhowie also has a selection of 3 different pharmacies. For public safety, Chilhowie's police department is the primary patrolling office, while Smith County Sheriff's Department and Virginia State Police are also readily available. And for an ambulance service, Chilhowie's fire department and EMS team are also readily available during a time of need. County government offices are at a minimum in the town of Chilhowie due to the size of the community and the town's limits. However, notable county services that are located in Chilhowie are the Chilhowie Public Library, which is a branch of the Smith County Public Library, the Smith County Tourist Information Center that is located right off of the interstate, the Smith County Landfill, and the local post office. I would also like to mention on this slide the town's news and information services. WCYB is used for televised services, while the Smith County News and Messenger is used as a newspaper, and social media such as Facebook is also utilized. On this slide, you can see the Chilhowie Town Park and Recreational Center. This is a large expanse of land located adjacent to the middle and high school. It is recognized as the town's public park, which is owned and maintained by the town of Chilhowie. This park features several covered shelters used for eating areas, accompanied with picnic tables, a small playground, a gravel track for walking or running. It also has a stage for live park event entertainment. It even has a baseball field used for the recreational leagues. One thing I do want to point out is I did not see any access for people who may be wheelchair bound or have a mobility impairment. It appears that it would be extremely difficult for someone to partake in any of the events. There's no ramp or any area for a wheelchair to get through except to go through the grass, and I don't believe that would go over very well. This park does have a river. It's called the Middle Fork Holston River. It runs through it. People like to fish here and hang out in the water. Children and their families often can be seen playing on the playgrounds. Another thing I'd like to mention is that teenagers can often be seen at this park during school hours, or immediately after school and just hanging out in their cars. It's odd that they would be there during school hours, but it happens. Adjacent to the park is a newly built dog park. Also, there is the Will Walker's Farmers Market and the Lucasdale Memorial Park that I mentioned earlier. This is another place where people like to hang out. It holds the annual Chilhowie Apple Festival, which is usually at the end of September. Even there, even with it being new too, I did not see a whole lot of access points for people with a mobility disability. There's also poor impairment of sidewalks in the area. The main sidewalks on Main Street are probably your better cared for sidewalks. And also there's a new bridge that has been built. It doesn't have any sidewalk that goes through it. The old bridge did, and so now you can see people just traveling on foot from one side of the underpass to the other, and it usually causes a traffic jam, but it has actually resulted in a pedestrian being struck by a vehicle back in December of 2022. For these two pictures here, I just wanted to point out this is a man who is just walking in the middle of the road because there is just no sidewalk available. And then the picture on the right is just the poor conditions of the sidewalk. There to the far right, it should be a place where a wheelchair could access this sidewalk, but it doesn't look like it could actually be accessed. On this slide, I wanted to show the bridge that doesn't have the sidewalk going through its underpassing. And then on the right, you can see the pedestrians walking in the road, trying to get from one side of the bridge to the other. Most transportation in the town of Chilhowie is provided by personal vehicle use. According to Data USA, 85.8% of the population drive alone, with an average of a 23.3-minute commute to work. Also, each household averages to have 2 motor vehicles. Other forms of transportation include the Mountain Links Transit, which is only available on Tuesdays. Bicycling can be seen also, especially during the warmer months. And then walking, but usually walking is seen in a dangerous way, or it's on Main Street where the sidewalks are better maintained. On this slide, you can see that there is an abundance of food, shops, and retail services within Chilhowie. I'd like to point out that while I assessed the inside of one of these restaurants, food particles, trash, and just dirt dust were everywhere in the floor, even in the main eating areas and also behind the counter where the food was prepared. The restroom didn't look like it was very well kept and needed attention. I also observed the cooks not wearing gloves while preparing the food for the customers. That was odd to me. I feel like they should always be wearing gloves, especially when they're handling the food. Also on this slide, you can see that there is an abundance of small businesses and large industries located within the town of Chilhowie or its neighboring areas. Major employers for Chilhowie are the healthcare facilities, construction industries, factories, and the grocery store. These two videos will give you an idea of the poverty-stricken areas and then its immediate neighboring areas. While there's not a known homeless population within Chilhowie, according to Data USA, 13.7% of the population is considered to live below the poverty line. This is above the national average of 12.8. When we look at poverty by age, according to the United States Census Bureau, ages 18 and under make up 14.7%, 18 to 64 make up 14.3%, and ages 65 and over make up 10.4% of the population. White men ages 35 to 44 make up the largest demographic living in poverty at 28.3%. Followed by that is the white female population, ages 35 to 44 at 20.4%. Also notable is that the child poverty rate in Smith County is 21% compared to Virginia's 12%. And also the United States is less at 16%. According to the census reporter, the median housing income for Chilhowie is $45,875, which is about 10% higher than Smith County as a whole, but that amount of income is only about 3/5 the amount of Virginia's median housing income. So this observation shows that while Chilhowie isn't the most poverty-stricken area in Smith County, it can still be considered to be a poverty area as opposed to the whole state of Virginia. At this time, I would like to look at some statistical data as I continue to assess Chilhowie. As of 2020, Chilhowie has a population of 2,000 residents. On this slide, you can see the median age for the population is about 49 years old. The category of under 18 years of age is 17%, while 18 to 64 make up the majority of the population, being 57.1%. The elderly population of 65 and over makes up about 25.9% of the population. As far as family and household characteristics, I would like to point out that 38% of the population has a female householder with no spouse present. These are generally going to be your single mother population, with 11.7% of the children being in the ages of 15 to 14. I'd also like to mention that diversity is lacking in the town of Chilhowie. 91% of its members identify as white, while 5% identify as African American, 2% identify as Hispanic, and less than 1% identifies as other. My assessment of the community reflected the sightings of these demographics while I did my Windshield survey. Taking a look at statistics of Chilhowie and Smith County as a whole provided by the United States Census Bureau is that 23.6% of the population is considered to be disabled. The two difficulties in this population I would like to point out in particular are vision difficulty at 7.5% and ambulatory difficulty at about 11%. Also, according to the Virginia Department of Health website, the most reported communicable disease in Smith County during the year of 2020 was hepatitis A, with a total of 22 cases. Also, according to the Virginia Department of Health, hepatitis A is usually spread when a person eats food contaminated with a small amount of feces, or by touching objects, food, or drinks contaminated by feces of an infected person. After taking a look at other health statistics of Chilhowie and Smith County, this data provided by city data showed that adult obesity rates in Smith County is 39% compared to the state rate of 32%, and the adult diabetes rate is 10.6% in Smith County as opposed to the state's 9.3%. Also want to mention from this slide that according to County Health Rankings website, out of 30 out of 1,000 teenage females ages 15 to 19 had a teen birth. That's pretty significant because that's double the state statistic and overpasses the national average of 19. Now that I have assessed the community of Chilhowie and analyzed data related to it in Smith County, I am now prepared to speak with key stakeholders before creating my community-based nursing diagnoses. I will make these in order to help make recommendations based off of literature reviews that will hopefully help to better the community. Hello, I would like to start out by introducing myself. I'm Heather Wilson, and I'm a student in the BSN program at UVA-Wise. I have been assigned to do a windshield survey, which consists of observing the town of Chilhowie and analyzing some statistical and demographical data. This will allow me to identify some areas in the community that may need improvement. Would you care to share your job title as well as your concerns about the community and what suggestions you might have that could help resolve those concerns, while also giving me your consent to share your recording? Thank you.
I give you my consent to use this for your project. I am a physical therapy assistant. And so if you go looking around at our community, look at the parks. Where do you see handicap accessibility? They have made a fishing ramp, a fishing spot in our community. It does have a handicap ramp on it, but it is not a perfect place for them to drive up to in a vehicle and get there. They have a handicap parking spot, but you still have to go through gravel and grass to get there. The best thing for that is for people who walk still, who have a disability, who can't step up a step. It's not handicap accessible for someone who has a wheelchair, who is bound to a wheelchair. If you look in our facilities in our community, there is nowhere for a handicap ramp at the playgrounds. The only handicap ramp you will see is at the stage, the main stage. Why on earth would someone with a handicap disability want to go up on the stage? There's no tables for them to eat at. It's literally just a clear stage for performances. So this is where our community is lacking when it comes to handicap accessibility for a wheelchair. Now let's turn the tables to the children of handicap disabilities. There's no wheelchair ramps leading up to the playgrounds. The playground is full of mulch. Can you imagine trying to push a wheelchair through the mulch? Can you imagine having your child who cannot sit in a swing because they don't have the core strength to hold themselves up? You have to hold them, but you yourself can't fit in a swing? What are we telling our parents of handicapped children? We're not. We are telling them, we do not support you. I'm sorry, there's nothing there for you. These people have to drive to go somewhere to a handicap facility for their children. We don't have the swings. We don't have the sources. We don't even have what would be easy to purchase is a swing for a wheelchair to pull up on, and a child can still swing who is wheelchair bound. But in our community, we can't even provide handicap accessibility of ramps or basic swings to lock in for those disability patients.
I would like to start out by saying thank you for joining me today for this brief interview. I have been conducting a windshield survey for my class at UVA WISE. Would you mind to share your job title and discuss what resources in Chilhowie you feel are lacking or feel may need some improvement on, while first giving me your consent to record your response?
Yes, you have my consent, and I'm a human resources manager who is retired. One of the things that I feel would be beneficial to Chilhowie is to have an indoor gym. That way we could take advantage of being able to exercise during any season.
Have you been to the recreational park that's adjacent to the high school?
Yes, I've been to the recreational park. However, it only has the ability for you to walk. It doesn't offer other types of recreational workout equipment that a gym would offer. And I feel that having the gym would be a better benefit for all of us here in Chilhowie to get in better health.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Heather Wilson, and I'm a student in the BSN program at UVA WISE. I'm completing a windshield survey for my rural and public health nursing class. Would you mind to state your job title and then share with me your thoughts on the needs of students in high school and the resources they may be lacking, while first providing me with your consent to record your response? Thank you.
Yes, you have my consent. I'm a local school nurse. The first need in particular that comes to mind for students in this community is that we need more or better teaching on sex education and how to prevent teen pregnancies. There has been 3 teen pregnancies between the age of 15 and 17 just this year alone. Both boys and girls need to understand the importance of condom use, and not just for the prevention of pregnancy. If the students are going to be sexually active, I wish they would at least protect themselves from STDs, as well as prevent more teen pregnancies from happening.
Recognizable strengths for Chilhowie and Smith County is its adequate access to most locations for physical activity. According to the County Health Rankings and Maps website, 88% of people in Smith County live close to a park or recreational area. The violent crime rate is 203 as opposed to the state's 207 and the United States 386. Its unemployment rate is lower at 6.4% compared to the national average of 8.1%. The unitedness of the community's members in the Southern hospitality. There is an abundance of agricultural land for farm use. Interstate 81 is easily accessible. There are an abundance of food, shops, and retail stores to choose from. The community likes to shop locally to promote small businesses. There are 3 schools within a close proximity, which creates a united appearance. And public access is easily accessible at a time of need. The town's weaknesses are its small population size and declining population regrowth, poorly maintained sidewalks and street infrastructure for safe active transportation, limited access to health care, its lack of diversity, and its lack of inclusion of people with disabilities to most public recreational areas. Smith County has a high teen pregnancy rate and also the number of hepatitis A cases seen in recent years. The first nursing diagnosis is that members of Chilhowie are at risk for impaired health related to communicable disease, specifically hepatitis A. Reflecting back on statistics, the Virginia Department of Health claims that there was 22 cases of hepatitis A in Smith County in the year of 2020. Hepatitis A can spread when a person eats food that has been contaminated with a small amount of feces. You can contract it by touching objects or eating or drinking after someone who is infected. A person is more at risk if living with an infected person. Signs and symptoms may include fatigue, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal, joint, or muscle pain, slight fever, dark-colored urine, or yellow-tinged eyes or skin. Risks associated with hepatitis A include a highly contagious liver disease. Severity and illness can range from mild, only lasting a few days, or can become severe and last for a few months. Most adults show symptoms, however, children are less likely to do that. Recommendations to stop the spread of hepatitis A are to wash hands frequently for at least 20 seconds with warm water and soap, especially after using the restroom or changing a diaper. Always wash hands before preparing to ingest anything. According to the Virginia Department of Health, the best way to prevent hepatitis A is by getting a hepatitis A vaccine. I would suggest implementing the proper education teaching to the members of the community during their yearly physical exams. Educate food service employees in the community on the importance of hand washing, especially after restroom use. I would also implement placing flyers in the restrooms of all public eating areas, as well as frequently visited places in town like the Wheel Walkers Farmers Market. In order to evaluate the effectiveness of the education provided on proper hand washing and food handling techniques, one could monitor for a decrease in the number of hepatitis A cases seen in the Virginia Department of Health's next evaluation screening. The second nursing diagnosis is that members of Chilhowie are at risk of injury related to inadequate infrastructure for active transportation and inequitable inclusive access. This is evidenced by the poorly maintained sidewalks and street infrastructure within the community, as well as recreational and public areas do not contain the proper infrastructure to include all members of the community. These barriers may discourage members from engaging in active transportation or make it difficult and unsafe for those who depend on walking from point A to point B, specifically in the underpass of I-81 to where there's no sidewalk present. Pedestrians can be seen walking in the road during busy times, and someone has also previously been struck by a vehicle. Also, as discussed previously, the disability rate of Smith County is 23.6%, with 7.5% having a visual disability and 11% having an ambulatory disability. With inequitable inclusive access, community members may have feelings of inequality, low self-esteem, or social isolation. Again, these barriers discourage members to participate in active transportation or cause social or self-isolation. The inadequate infrastructure causes unsafe walking conditions for everyone, and anyone who attempts to use this is at risk for injury. Inequitable access can increase depression, causing an increase in poor mental health days. According to the County Health Rankings and Roadmaps website, Smith County has a score of 5.3 for poor mental health days, as opposed to Virginia's 4.2 and the United States 4.5. Inadequate exercise could also be a result. Also, according to the County Health Rankings and Roadmaps website, Smith County's physical inactivity is at 31%, as opposed to Virginia's 25% and the nation's 26%. My recommendations include building collation, create a public health meeting group that does not segregate against disabilities, hold town and county meetings to address the need for enhancement or recreation of pedestrian and disability master plans, integrate through collaboration with interdisciplinary teams and other key stakeholders within the town, teach and educate the importance of regular diet and exercise, and promote health equity and health as a shared value through individual and community engagement and inclusion. Also promote mental health awareness. Once successful efforts are completed, adequate infrastructure for active transportation can be evaluated by the increased number of members in the community, using the sidewalks as safe means of active transportation, or taking a community survey to see how well the new infrastructure serve the community, and ask what other suggestions the members may have for further future development. My third and final nursing diagnosis is that members of Chilhowie and Smith County are at risk for child poverty in relation to teen pregnancy, with inadequate economic resources to care for a child. Smith County's children in poverty is at 21%, when the state of Virginia's is only 12%, and the United States is only at 16%. The number of teen births in Smith County are double that of Virginia's at 30 females per 1,000 at the ages of 15 to 19, with the nation being at 19 per 1,000. This could be related to the high number of teens being from a single-parent home, living with frequent family conflicts, early engagement in sexual activity, low self-esteem, or early usage of drugs and alcohol. Signs of child poverty are an increase in public assistance such as WIC and Medicaid, an increased number of females exiting high school before graduation, or the inability to provide goods and services that can enhance child development. Risks of child poverty in relation to teen pregnancies may include low birth weight, high infant mortality rates, children suffering from developmental issues, children having behavioral problems or chronic medical conditions. Teen mothers may also have limited educational achievements and tend to rely on public-funded health care. During my literature review, I learned that teen pregnancy and parenting contribute to 30% of teenage girls who drop out of high school. My recommendation to help solve child poverty in this community is to start at the main source, which is preventing teen pregnancies. It is important to implement protective factors such as having open communication with parents or a trusted adult about accurate contraception use. It is important for teens to have parental support and live a healthy family lifestyle. Parents and teens should have positive attitudes towards the use of condoms if abstaining from sexual intercourse is not possible. Educate the accurate knowledge of sexual health, the risks of contracting STIs, as well as the importance of abstinence. This can all be included in a teen pregnancy prevention program that could be taught during sex education or offer special classes before or after school to high school students. My recommendations for planning in order to reduce the number of teen pregnancies is to create an educational program that could be offered during or after school that teaches how to practice safe sex or how celibacy is the safest practice to prevent teen pregnancy. In order to evaluate these interventions is to watch the statistical data over a course of a few years and hope for a decrease in teen pregnancies, as well as a increase in high school graduation statistics for females. In conclusion, I was able to create 3 nursing diagnoses by assessing the needs of the members in Chilhowie by completing a Windshield survey, analyzing statistical and demographical data, and reviewing literature associated with these topics. All of these things helped me to gather the appropriate information needed in order to complete my project. I saw that community members were at risk for contracting communicable diseases, specifically hepatitis A. I've come to the conclusion that this previous outbreak could have been related to poor hand hygiene after restroom use or prior to preparing food. I have made my recommendations in hopes of not having another outbreak occur. I also saw a need for means of safe, active transportation and suggested implementing the creation of new infrastructure plans, building sidewalks in areas where there are none for pedestrians to walk safely from point A to point B would decrease their risk of injury. I also saw the need for equitable, inclusive access in the community for those with disabilities. I have made recommendations on installing infrastructure that supports all members of the community. I saw that children are at risk for poverty due to teen pregnancies and have made recommendations on how to implement a teen pregnancy prevention program. I also spoke with 3 stakeholders of the community and investigated their concerns and issues they had with the community and compared their responses to my assessment and data analysis. By collecting all of this information, I was able to develop potential solutions, and I do believe that if these issues are addressed accordingly, the health and the safety of the community will prosper and ultimately result in a better health outcome. This slide is dedicated to the resources I used in order to complete my project. Thank you for watching.